Today kicks off the final week of training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are going to dive into this youth movement going on in the defense and mostly focus on this DB group now. But before we do dive into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's dive right in. On Monday, Danny Shelton became an official member of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I must say, just some photos you see of him, this dude is a behemoth. This dude is big. Like, if you've seen big dudes before, this dude is bigger than big. Like, he's reminding a lot of people of a Dontari Poe when he was at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's bigger than him. I think he could be a really good asset for this team. Now, are my expectations high for Danny Shelton? No. But also, too, I love to see a run-stuffing defensive tackle on this line, even as a depth piece, too, because that's something Kansas City has struggled throughout the years with. So why not bolster your line, even if it is just with depth? And it's going to be exciting to see in practice. He even had some good plays where you're like, okay, he is just bullying people. And what else is to expect? I mean, the dude is huge. Like, he's going to be bulldozing a lot of people. It's going to be kind of fun to see what kind of rotations or packages that Spagnuolo runs with him. I got to figure we're going to see him this week against the Commanders. Let's see how many plays he gets in. It's going to be fun watching Danny Shelton, I think. I think he's, like mentioned, I think he's going to be like a Mike Pennell, and he's going to have a role on this team. I'm not saying it's an every down type of role, but I'm going to say it's going to be like a 5 to 10 plays a game where he's going to have an impact, and you're going to be saying his name week in and week out, where it's like, Danny Shelton in the back, tackling the running back. I think that's what's also going to, or causing pressures, or helping Jones, helping any rushers get back there. I think that's going to be a big asset for Danny Shelton. And I know that might be a lot of people thinking, oh, you're hoping for too much. This guy is really inconsistent throughout his career. Hey, when you bring someone in, you got to be hopeful and look at the bright side. So that is what I'm doing. But with Danny Shelton coming in, the Kansas City Chiefs do have to trim their roster on Tuesday to 85 players. They did release 4 players. And the one that caught a lot of people's eyes was Lonnie Johnson. And it kind of caught my eyes too, because I think a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, including myself, we were putting Lonnie Johnson on a higher pedestal, and we were boosting him up because we thought maybe this will be where he could revive his career and show the talent that he showed when he was a second-round pick. And he's a tall, lengthy cornerback, something Spags loves. But at the end of the day, the way these rookies started producing in Trent McDuffie, Josh Williams, and Jalen Watson, the writing was on the wall, just like DeAndre Baker, which you could find kind of surprising, because when this all first started before the draft, we thought Kansas City's kind of slim in the DB room. But then you bring 3 rookies in, and then they impress in training camp, and they also impress against the Chicago Bears. They're making their point. We knew they were going to be contributors, but they're going to be bigger contributors than what we thought too. We know Trent McDuffie is going to be a day 1 starter. Josh Williams looks like he might be in the slot sharing snaps with Finn too. And then we're going to see what Jalen Watson can do. Jalen Watson, I'm actually going to focus on a little more, because we talk a lot about Trent McDuffie and Josh Williams. But Jalen Watson has been kind of under the radar. And then against Chicago, he showed, okay, I'm going to make this team, and I'm going to be a playmaker too. Now, the one play that sticks in my head that he probably doesn't want to stick in his head, when he got juked out and allowed a 29-yard gain. Shit happens. It was your rookie, welcome to the NFL rookie moment. But then he recovered very well, had a pass breakups, a few tackles, almost had an interception off a deflection too. If he could just keep building off of this, from a DB room that everyone says was the weakest on this team, you could literally before draft be like, what is the weakest point of the Kansas City Chiefs? Pass rusher or cornerbacks? You choose one, and if you choose one for Kansas City to solve, and you would be happy with. And Kansas City actually in the first round went out and solved both of them. And it looks like they answered both of them with the George Karlaftis and a Trent McDuffie. They got way more depth, though, in the cornerback room, too. I'm actually more eager to see what Jalen Watson can provide, because even today in camp, he was very sticky in coverage, and he's another one, just like a Trent McDuffie and a Williams. You see him improving now day in and day out. He was under the radar a little longer than what Trent McDuffie was, because Trent McDuffie was maybe a week, and then he just started getting after it, and he just started locking down guys too, and he's just on your hip. And Jalen Watson, you could tell, he's learned the playbook or learning the playbook and getting a better grasp of it. And now the speed, I don't want to say it's slowing down on him because you haven't played a real NFL game. You don't know until week 1 and the season is underway. But it's good to see that he's like, okay, this is starting to click now. Let's do it. Let's have fun. And it's funny, too, because when I first analyzed the draft and everything and how it was breaking down, I was like, this could be a guy where I could easily see us cutting him and he's a practice squad guy. That was at best for me. So I'm actually really happy that he is contributing and he's being a playmaker in training camp and in preseason too, because he is exceeding my expectations already if I'm thinking he was going to be cut. And he's basically taking the jobs of Alani Johnson and then DeAndre Baker. So it's going to be fun to see this cornerback room going forward. Definitely when they're going to be highly dependent on every Sunday. Now, another cornerback I also want to discuss too is Rashaad Finn. And it is fun to have him back. I know everyone's already seen it where him and Mahomes, Kelsey going back and forth at it. You know, friendly competition and things like that. Getting Mahomes competitive and getting his fire lit, and they were both jawing at it. Even though Mahomes was right, he was probably holding. Nah, it wasn't probably. He really was holding. But I'm excited for Finn to be finally healthy because, as I mentioned, he's going to be a key piece on this offense too. You got all these young guys in it. So it's basically going to be Snead and Fitton running the way. And it's going to be interesting to see moving forward too. I'm more eager to see what happens week 1. You already know that Jarius Snead is your number 1. And he's going to be your outside. Or I don't know, honestly, but I'm assuming L'Jarius Snead is going to be your outside. And right now, I would think Trent McDuffie is your 2 and then Fitton in the slot, or you could flip-flop them too. There's going to be so many different packages you can run with these cornerbacks, but people often forget Fitton was very highly graded last year and was very good when he's on the field. Now he's going to get more reps. He's going to be a full-time cornerback out there, and he's going to be on full display where he can make himself a name. And I don't know if it is, but if it is, and I think it could be, if it's a contract year for Fitton, we all know contract year is undefeated. So he probably will ball out like last year too. This is, like I mentioned earlier, a very, very solid cornerback group. I'm happy to see Fitton healthy. I'm happy to see Fitton showing that dog in him because we saw it last year too. He goes after any quarterback, any wide receiver's neck, and he'll just talk his talk, and you better hope you don't get him on a hot roll because if he happens to get past breakups, if he happens to make a play on the ball, you're going to hear about it. And I'm excited to see what Fitton brings this year to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm surprised I didn't get roasted for this because I forgot, but I really didn't. So when I make my basically instant reaction videos, I'm giving you guys that like basically raw cut footage of how I'm feeling at the moment. And when it's preseason time, of course, you're not going to get anything high emotions like that. When it's regular season, oh, that's when shit gets real. And I was just basically preaching off everything that caught my initial reaction. And I don't know how I didn't mention it in the video, but George Karlaftis, he was probably the best player on the field, and he showed out in every facet of the game. He was able to get his first sack, but also too, it's like that high motor you see displayed throughout that game almost on every play is what we've been hearing and basically everyone been, awing out through all the training camp. If he can instill that every week in the Kansas City Chiefs for the regular season, this pass rush is already better just with him out there. He makes everyone else better. I remember when I forgot what play it was or what exactly it was, but a lot of you will probably remember because you've seen the highlights. And it was when Justin Fields was like on the 5-yard line. Literally, Karlaftis was the last one off the line, but still the first one to the quarterback. That motor is ridiculous. He is a great bull rusher. He's learning techniques from Frank Clark, who, by the way, Frank Clark, he looked very good as well. He was very explosive. Like, there was a play where Justin Fields rolled out. Chris Jones was the closest one to him, and Frank Clark ended up getting to him first. You get that type of Frank Clark back. Dunlap looked good too. Chris Jones, of course, had a sack. This defense is going to be one of the best we have seen in a while for the Kansas City Chiefs. At least I'm hoping for. Like, I can hope very well. But if we can get the best defense under the Mahomes era too, and if the offense is still clicking, this might be the scariest Kansas City Chiefs team, which a lot of people aren't banking on just because we lost a few players. Yes, we lost huge names as in Tyreek, as in Tyrann. And I understand they basically molded the Kansas City Chiefs for the last 3 to 6 years. Of course, Tyreek with the 6 years. But it's a new era, and in the NFL, if you stay the same, you get caught. And that's what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Even though they were still one of the best teams because they're well coached and they got the best quarterback in the league. But if you don't adjust, which we saw time in and time out last year, you're going to get caught up. So I think this is a really positive for the Kansas City Chiefs that they finally are switching things up. The league doesn't know what's about to hit them this year, and I expect huge things from the Kansas City Chiefs. But Chiefs Kingdom, dive down in the comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about this defense. Let me know if you view this defense being one of the best in Mahomes' era, if not the best so far in his young career. But with that, before I do close out, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you know you do not want to miss out on. And with that, y'all take care.